So it looks like the calm before the storm in QQQ. Now, I might be exaggerating just a little bit, but we definitely have the calm part there right now because I want to show you how this week's range was the narrowest range since the third week of January. Trading has really quieted down in QQQ and some of the technology related ETFs. But we got to put this into perspective. Okay, a narrow range week doesn't tell us much in and of itself. We have to look at the weekly and daily charts for directional clues, and that's what we're going to do in this video. Hey, this is Arthur Hill, Chief Technical Strategist at TrendInvestorPro.com. Thanks for tuning in here on Saturday, November 21st. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up and consider subscribing. So here's a weekly chart on Stock Charts ACP. And I have a plugin, the Trend Investor Pro Indicator Edge plugin. On the right at the bottom, you can see the plugin icon if you want to learn more about that plugin. There's 10 indicators and there's 2 more coming. The ATR trailing stop will be coming, so I'm looking forward to that. But another indicator that's on there is called high-low range percent. And so I'll just close that. And when you have the plugin, you can see all the indicators down there below. Now, high-low range percent, I want to look at the settings for you. So this is a weekly chart, and I've got smoothing periods at 1. So that means there's no smoothing. It's just a 1-week high-low range percent. And high-low range percent is the high minus the low divided by the close. So it's the high-low range as a percentage of the close. Signal periods is set at 1 because I don't want any signal periods. If I put 10 there, you can see that you're going to get a little moving average. That would be the signal period. But we're not looking for that today. The reference line is at 2%. And what we can see here is this is the lowest reading since the third week of January. Sorry, can't get rid of that annoying thing there. But it's the lowest reading since the third week of January. And so that tells you that you've had a volatility contraction this week, a serious contraction, a narrow range week. I mean, look at all these high-low range percents. They're all above 2%. That's why they're red. And the green ones are below 2%. And so what we've had is a volatility contraction in QQQ. And that's why I say it is the calm, and it could be the calm before the storm. Now, I might be exaggerating on what the storm is going to be. I wouldn't expect a big breakdown in trend reversal because in order to get a bias on what this means is, in other words, your volatility is contracted, and John Bollinger teaches us that you would expect a volatility expansion after a volatility contraction. And so we've had a serious 1-week contraction. Things are getting real quiet, and the trend is up. We're above that 40-week moving average. You can see we had a new high there in early September, and we're consolidating. So let's look at the daily chart for a little more detail on what we might expect. So here's a daily close-only chart for QQQ. And sometimes a close-only chart is helpful because it filters out a lot of that intraday noise. And we had a bit of it on the Monday on the 9th of November when we had that big gap and that close that was below the open. But if you just whittle it down to closing prices only, and most indicators like RSI and MACD are calculated based on closing prices. So closing prices really are the most important prices to watch. So you have like a 70+% advance, and then you have a consolidation. And what does a consolidation do? It digests these gains. I mean, you can't continue up at this pace. You need to rest. It's like if you're running a marathon and you sprint the first mile. Well, you can't keep up that pace if you sprint the first mile and you have a under 4-minute mile in a marathon. You're going to have to rest and get your energy back to get ready for that next leg. And so that's what this consolidation has done. It has digested the gains. And we've gotten a breakout, a little bit of cold feet, but we're mostly, I say the cup is half full. There is more breakout here than there isn't because you're above that triangle line. And there's the important low right there. That is the low from Tuesday, November 10th. And as long as that low holds, we're okay for QQQ, and I have a bullish bias, and I would expect a continuation higher. Now, if we move below that low and we break it, that's going to show cold feet, and that's going to put us back into the triangle, chop, chop, chop. And maybe we break down here and everybody gets bearish. Well, that's probably going to be the bigger opportunity if you get down into this 260 area, because that would get a lot of attention, and then we could get a move higher. It would still be a correction, in other words, even if we move down to 260. But that's neither here nor there, because that's in the future. The present tells us that the breakout is largely holding. The volatility has narrowed. So we've got a lot of quiet trading. We've got a breakout. The bias is bullish. And so I would be more expecting of an upside resolution here. We can see in the indicator window RSI bouncing off the 40 to 50 zone a couple times. We can see the Nasdaq 100 volatility index, VXN, has moved below 30. It's at its lowest point since June. So that volatility index is narrow as well. So that tells you volatility is low, and lower volatility is usually bullish in that case. So this narrow range week, we've got the calm before a potential storm. Will it be to the upside, or will we correct further? Right now, my bet's on the upside until proven otherwise. So at trendinvestorpro.com this weekend, we had our weekend video and chart book. We had updates to the timing models on Friday and the big ETF report on Thursday. And there was also an article on exits for subscribers. I covered four different exit strategies and went into detail on this ATR trailing stop, which is my favorite. All right, so that concludes this video. Check out trendinvestorpro.com if you'd like to learn more, especially if you want to see that article on exit strategies. Thanks again for tuning in, and have a great weekend.